Hey guys, so if you guys been watching my Instagram, you know that I'm not at home. If you are on my Instagram, you know exactly where I'm at. If you haven't watched my Instagram, can you take a guess where I am? So I'm here for work for my regular day job, and been here this week. I was already gonna go back home, but I need to be here longer. We had something that came up with my day job that I have to take care of. So hopefully, if everything goes right, I'll be able to leave here soon. Maybe the next few days. If not, hopefully it doesn't push into the weekend. I don't think it will. Things that are happening this weekend is Spritz Tour, Darren Pfister's Porsche event in California. That's going this weekend. I really want to go. That's the plan. I planned on doing some more mods up to my car before I went, but I'm here in Chicago and I'm not at home, so I don't think I'll be able to do that. If everything works out, I may be able to get home just in time to grab the car, throw some clothes in the car, and head to Cali and go attend the Spritz Tour. But that's still in the air. I don't know if I'll be able to do that. I hope I can, but I may not be able to. You'll find out later in the week. I'll post another video at the end of the week or on the weekend, and you'll know whether I went or not. Right now, this is a video I recorded last week related to the Volkswagen Passat, an issue we had with the Passat, and what the issue is and how we determined it, and what the plan is to fix it. So I wanted to give you some content this week. Whether the next video is going to be about driving to Cali and attending an event or modifying the car is going to determine how long I have to be here for my regular day job. So stay tuned, watch this video, give me some feedback, tell me what you think. I'll catch you guys later, hopefully next video on the West Coast. See ya. Today we are going to try to figure out what the hell is wrong with the Volkswagen Passat. I'll tell you what we've done so far. We've changed plugs. Let me flip the camera around. Excuse the mess that I have on the toolbox, but I just was working late last night trying to figure out what else is wrong with the Passat, and just doing some troubleshooting. So I've taken the plugs out, replaced plugs, moved plugs around. These are actually not the same. These are 7, BE7, and these are BE9. They're both for the Passat, but if you look really close, the electrode is different design. Now, looking at these plugs, you can see what tells you right there. It's running lean. Well, this car's ran lean since day one. It's always run lean. The plugs always look like that when I take it out. I'm less concerned with that. But we've moved plugs around. We've moved cold packs around. These are the old cold packs. Those are the newer ones. I've tried swapping back and forth, doing different things, putting different positions. I'm going to tell you what's wrong with the car in just a second. We've changed the mass airflow sensor, including the whole tube. Yes, you can change just this piece, but I tried just changing that piece, and I've also replaced the tube. Replacing the whole thing works better. Stethoscope. I use my stethoscope here to listen to the cams and to listen to the fuel injectors. With all that being done, I still get the same fault every time. Misfire cylinder 1, cylinder 3 every time. I've also taken off the cam position sensor. I've removed that. I've cleaned it. I've checked to see if it's, if there's no debris on it. There's no galling or marks on the cam. It looks good. So next thing we're going to do is a compression test. So I'm going to run to the auto parts store right now and go get a compression tester that you can rent them out. And then we're going to do a compression test on this car. If they have a borescope, I'm going to get one of those too. If the compression is good, it's probably a fuel injector. If the compression is bad, it might be a stuck valve. But to be stuck on cylinder 1 and 3 at the same time, it's kind of odd. So I'm thinking it might be a fuel injector. And the reason I think it might be a fuel injector is because if you remember a couple months ago, I replaced the water pump, and I replaced everything under the intake. And I had to take the intake off to get to it. And part of taking the intake off is you take off the fuel injectors. So maybe I damaged the fuel injector, or maybe crap got into the fuel injectors when I did that. Completely possible. Now the good thing is that the fuel injectors on the Volkswagen are only $243 for the whole kit. That includes seals and everything. Not like the Porsche. The Porsche's fuel injectors, we already talked about that in the last video. $2,600. My head hurts thinking about it. I don't want to think about it. So $243, that's no big deal. I'll pay that all day long. These are for Bosch fuel injectors. They're not OEM Volkswagen. OEM Volkswagen are $700. I'm not going to get those anyways. But first, we got to find out what's wrong with the car. We don't want to get too far ahead. Let's figure out what's wrong with the car. Let's go to the auto parts store. Let's go get the test equipment. Also, I want to scan it. I want to look at what the fuel pressure is, what it's supposed to be. I believe on the Passat, the fuel pressure is supposed to be something like 8 bar. I don't know what the fuel pressure is because I didn't look at it yesterday. When I scanned the car, I just saw the fault codes, and I looked at live data to see what the short-term and long-term fuel was, and it was perfect. It was right at 0, which is exactly where it should be. So the mass airflow sensor is working right, I think. And I didn't even look at the fuel pressure. So I'll look at that when I come back. But let's go get the test equipment first, and then we can continue troubleshooting on the car. You know what's ironic? This is like the second or third time I've had to use the Porsche to go get parts or fix the Volkswagen. What's more reliable? Porsche.
Later.
We are back. The Porsche is running extremely well. No hesitation, no stutter, does not try to stall anymore. It's running great. It's amazing changing some exhaust clamps and improving the pressure and flow of the exhaust, how much of an improvement it made on the car's drivability. I'm extremely happy that the Porsche is back to 100%. It still does the cold start thing, but not bad. It does it very, very slightly now. As to before, it was just like up and down a lot. Now it barely goes up and down a few hundred, not even 100 RPM. So I can live with that. I'll figure that out later. But the car is back to driving perfect. It drives great. Acceleration is smooth. The exhaust note is beautiful. So happy with the Porsche. And it's a parts runner today. So we got what we needed for the Passat. My iCar soft scan tool, I'm going to use that here in a second so we can look at the pressures, the fault codes. You guys can see that because I didn't show you that yet. I've got some mass airflow sensor. Basically, this is a sensor cleaner. I bought it to clean that camshaft position sensor, the connection of it. It's got a lot of oil in the connector. I cleaned it a little bit yesterday, but I wasn't happy with it, so I want to clean that out just to double check. I bought some STP concentrated fuel injection cleaner. I like this stuff because you only have to put this in every 4,000 miles. This is not, it says treats 21 gallons, but this is the concentrated formula. So you don't have to put this in every gas tank, and you do notice a difference when you use that. I'll probably use some of that as well, but before we get to any of that, we need to do a compression test. We need to scan it and do a compression test. All right, so let's see what faults the car has. The accessories on, go to OBDT. All right, so we got 6 faults. Let's read the codes. We've got random and multiple misfire. The important thing there, it's random, so it's not every time. And that explains why sometimes that's why you drive the car and it drives fine. Cylinder 1 misfire, stored. Number 3 misfire, that's a stored fault. But really, I think it's only those 2 faults, because the other one is pending. That's also pending, and that's also pending. Let's turn on the car. So turn it on, and I get the steering wheel out of the way. We got the check engine light. We're not going to clear it right now. Sometimes you'll get it flashing, and then if I go for a drive right now, I can tell you by the way the car feels. If I go drive right now, that check engine light will go away because it's not misfiring right now. The other symptom I have is I can smell fuel. I can literally smell it. But while we're here, let's look at what the fuel pressure is. It's misfiring now because I can feel it. It's definitely misfiring now. If I step on the gas, though, it doesn't misfire. But as the RPMs come down, it's misfiring. Here, let's go to live data. All supported. Gonna hold this so that there's no glare. It's kind of the challenge here. So here's my short-term bank 1. Now this is 4-cylinder, so it only has bank 1. 0%. We're in open loop right now because it's cold. It hasn't warmed up yet. Long term, 0. RPMs, they're pretty good. There's 800. Yeah, that's about where it's supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be 850, but it's not too bad. Fuel rail pressure, here we go. Fuel rail pressure is 3,900 kPa. I think that's right. 4,000. That's about what the fuel pressure is on the Porsche. And the Porsche's got a similar setup. It's got a fuel pump and a high pressure fuel, a low pressure fuel pump in the tank and a high pressure fuel pump at the fuel rail. So that's pretty close to what the Porsche fuel pump pressure is. So I think that's right. Evaporated purge valve, that's open right now. Let's see if that closes once the car warms up. So a strange thing just happened. As soon as the purge valve closed, I literally was watching it. It went from like 2 point something to 0. So the purge valve closed, and then I got the EPC light, and I could feel the engine almost shudder. We're definitely misfiring now. Without a doubt, we are misfiring now. So let's turn it off. Let's pull the plugs. Let's see if any of the plugs are soaking wet from fuel. Probably not. If it's misfiring, it probably has a fuel injector that's not. If the cylinder head doesn't have a leak or something, then it probably has a fuel injector that's not firing all the way, or opposite, one that's really leaky. So let's pull the plugs and stick that pressure thing in there and see what happens. Let's pop the cover off. Just pull it up. It pops right off. Get this out of the way. I'm going to pull the coil packs and stick a pressure tester in there and check them one by one. I have personally broken these clips in the past myself, so let me show you the trick to, and then I replace them later. Let me show you the trick to get these off without breaking them with no tools. If you push forward first and then pull back, it comes right off. By pushing forward, you're unlocking that little tab that's in there. So push forward, then you can see inside how you can lift it off. If you don't push forward and you just try to lift it, sometimes it comes, sometimes it doesn't, and then you end up breaking that. So push forward, and then it relieves the pressure on there. And then you just go one by one. See, you have a little gap now? Just go one by one so you can get them all out. And they all come out, just like that. I guess I should have recorded to pull these off. My engine's cold, so it's easier, but you just pull up on them. This is the newer style. The older style on the previous engines had a little nut here and a ground wire. The new style doesn't have that. This is the 2-liter TSI. This is a CCTA engine, if that helps. Oh. Of course, the other three came out easy. Get on the other side. There we go. And I always like to put these in the order they were removed, so I know which one was 1, 2, 3, and 4. So next I'm going to pull out the plugs. I'm going to do these one by one so we can do the pressure tester on per cylinder. Alright, so let's start with number 1. I always do these by hand. Never use power tools, because you only have one chance to strip a cylinder head and then you're screwed. FYI, if you need to replace your entire cylinder head, FCP Euro sells a kit where you can take the head and all the components to the head for $3,700. So it's not dripping of fuel. It's a little shiny because I had put NECs on here before. But there's no oil leaks, it's not dripping the fuel, it is running a little lean. This engine's always ran lean, but plug looks fine. We'll take it out, let's put a tester in here. Just run that down in the hole, get it threaded on there. Our gauge on here. And then we will just crank this over, so if I can put it so you guys can watch it. We hope this does not read 0, because that would be bad. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm trying to put it in a position where you can watch it, but no, that's not possible. Put it right there. All right, let's crank it over and see what happens. we've got, it's a little low, 120. It's not great, but we have pressure. All right, so we put the spark plug back into number 1 because we know that has low pressure. It's got 120 PSI normally. I think last time I checked this, it was about 155, 160. So it's definitely reading low, but we know the problems are 1 and 3. So we're gonna put this one back in and then we'll check number 2. We'll check them all, but we're gonna check number 2 next for comparison. 2, not dripping. It's not dripping, it's lean. Looks fine. All the way. Threaded end. So I'll put this up. All right, so cylinder number 2, pressure is 155, which is what it's supposed to have. You know what that tells me? I don't know yet. We're gonna go to cylinder number 3. I'm starting to think I know what's wrong with this car. Let's go to cylinder number 3 now. All right, so cylinder 3 was 150. Cylinder 1 was 120, number 2 was 155, 160, it was 160. Cylinder 3 was also 160. Let's see what cylinder number 4 reads. Cylinder number 4 reads about 165. So that means we have a bad cylinder. So chances are we have a bad valve. And I say that because a video I watched last night was on a GTI 2-liter engine. Not this exact same engine, but Volkswagen 2.0s are pretty similar. 2.0 turbos are all pretty similar. On that engine, when they did the compression test, it was 0 on cylinder number 1. And when he put the borescope in there, you could see through the borescope that the valve was stuck. This valve may not be stuck because I am getting pressure, but maybe it has some debris on it. Maybe the intake. I'm gonna check the intake bolts here, make sure everything's still tight, nothing's backed out. Could be that. But it's very strange that it's only happening on cylinder 1. Well, I found a problem. I'll show you what the problem is right here. So here's near cylinder 1. The bolt does not tighten. It is loose. It does grab, but it is not tight. So I'm gonna add some washers to that, see if I can get that bolt to tighten, to grab tighter. Here's number 3. Bolt just spins. It's loose. This is hand loose. I got no tools, no socket on here. It's hand loose. And it won't tighten. I put a wrench on there, it won't tighten. It'll just get to a point and then it'll just spin. So definitely have 2 air leaks there. I'm gonna check all of them and try to change the washer stack up, and maybe I can find a shorter bolt and it'll grab. So this bolt, let's go to the bench, aka my toolbox. So this is the first bolt. This is the one closest to cylinder number 1. So this is the first bolt. This is the one closest to cylinder number 1. Look what it has on it. It has got a helicoil. See how it springs? That means that someone not me. This happened before I messed with it. Someone has already done this in the past. And the only time the intake manifold has ever come off was at a Volkswagen dealership. This was not done at the independent shop. This was totally done at a Volkswagen dealership because they were the last ones to remove the intake manifold before I removed it in my video. And when I removed it, that didn't come out, and it does now. So I think that's part of our problem. So I'm pretty sure you know what the problem is. What we don't know is where the leak is. Let me show you. So I found that bolt, and the same bolt, but the one that goes through here. They're all stripped. The only way to really fix those is pull the intake manifold off, basically fill those holes, or the end of those holes, with melted aluminum, and then retap the threads. It's the only way to fix it. Or get a bigger bolt and tap the threads. Neither of which I want to do right now. That doesn't guarantee that that's why the cylinder number 1 is leaking. So right now, plugs are out, plug packs are off. What I'm gonna do is turn on the car and see if I can look down in there. And we're gonna try to look down in there just to process of elimination, make sure no fuel accumulates in each one of these. We're not gonna turn the car over, we're just gonna turn the switch to on and then just look down in the holes. Power's on, fuel pump has pressure. Good thing is I can see the top of the piston and I don't see any fuel accumulating. So that tells me I don't have a leaking injector. That's good. All right, it's been about 30 minutes, so let's check what's the pressure at on cylinder number 1. Still holding 130. Has not dropped pressure, which is good. That means the valves are closing and they're doing their job. The only issue that then probably was going on is I had a leak through the intake. It's probably exactly what's going on. So I'm gonna put that back together, and then I'm going to figure out what alternatives, what's a different way I can seal this intake manifold. Now, when I did replace the intake manifold, I did put brand new gasket on there. So the gasket's new. It's not a gasket issue. It's a hardware issue. I gotta find an alternative way, or how can I fix this so that it permanently seals, so that we have 160, 165 across the board. Fuel pressure looks good. Fuel pump is good. Ambient pressure is good. So the mass airflow sensor was doing its job. Everything was doing its job. I just had an intake leak is what I had. What surprises me is when I smoke it, I couldn't see the smoke coming out of the intake. But I guess when the cylinder compresses and pushes up, it's enough compression to push the air out just through that little bit of seal. Because it still did have 120 PSI, so it's probably why I don't see the smoking. It has enough seal that it only comes out under higher pressure. So, makes sense. So right now it sounds like it's running good, but I can hear a little howl if you listen. There's a little howling going on. I think that howling is that air escaping as the cylinder's on the compression stroke, pushing the air pushing the air into the intake manifold. I think that's where the howling noise is coming from. Yeah. So at least I know what's wrong with the car now, I think. So now we have the flashing light, but the car does seem to be running a little bit better. But at least I've narrowed it down. I didn't get to fix anything today, and I don't have the tools, nor the parts, nor the equipment to fix it today. Well, I probably have the tools, but I don't have the right stuff. I need to research how I can fix this, what alternatives I can come up with to help seal that cylinder. Because you could see before I did anything, the pressure was below 120, and just tightening that bolt, the pressure was above 120. So obviously that intake on that side of the car is loose, and the air is escaping through there. And that makes sense with the, let me turn this off. It's beeping's going crazy. That makes sense with the little bit of a howl noise that I'm getting from the engine when it's running at idle. And when I'm driving, it drives perfectly fine until it hits that EPC. When the EPC turns on, of course, it cuts your power, puts you in limp mode. But normal driving, it was fine. And when it would heat up, it was fine. And that makes total sense, because as the engine heats up, it's expanding, helps sealing things off. So that's probably exactly what's going on. I'll figure out how to fix this, the more permanent fix, or I'm not gonna say necessarily the right fix, because again, this is our beater car. This is our go get groceries, go drive an errand, go do something. When you don't want to take the Audi or the Porsche, you take this car. Or maybe we do take it to the independent shop and let them overhaul the head and put a new head gasket on it and call it a day. Because everything under that I've already replaced. I've already replaced the water pump. I've replaced the heat exchanger, oil cooler, the seals, the gaskets, the CV axle, the timing cover gasket. I've replaced a lot of stuff already. So maybe we just spend some money and get the car fixed the right way. It's a slippery slope, because the fix is going to cost more than the car is worth. So do you do the real fix, or do you do a permanent fix that may be a little shade tree? Don't know yet. Don't know the answer to that. So we're going to figure that out, and then we'll make a part 2 of this video whenever we get that figured out. Quick little test drive kind of confirms my suspicion. The car is driving fine right now. No check engine light, no power issues. Engine's smooth. I can hear with the radio off, windows open, I can hear the turbo spooling up. I can hear the air when it goes through the engine. The air induction, I can hear that clearly. And its temperature, yeah, engine's at normal operating temperature right now. So that kind of confirms my suspicion that once this engine is warmed up, it seals everything up, and that air leak is not so bad in cylinder number 1. So that when it's cold in the morning or it's colder outside, cylinder number 1 is leaking down. That's pretty sure that's what it is. Right now, it's idling. I can feel it trying to misfire, but it's not misfiring because the engine warmed up. And it all has to do with the mounting hardware to that intake manifold. Pretty confident that's our issue. Well, that's good. That's a silver lining. We don't have an issue with the intake. We don't have an issue with the valves. We don't have an issue with the piston or a fuel injector. I'm looking forward to making more Porsche content. I think I know what the next video is going to be. If you saw my Instagram, and if you go to the community tab here on YouTube and you see my little post there's a hint of what the next video is potentially going to be about. So I'm working on things in the background to make that a reality, and that's probably what's going to be next for the Porsche. Flying videos, I do have a flying channel. I'll be honest, I'm completely lazy about posting flying videos on there. But next time I do, and I have gone flying numerous times, I just haven't recorded or posted the video. So I'm going to put some flying videos together, and then I'll tell you on this channel where, that I posted it to the other channel, so you guys can go to the other channel and watch it there. That channel does not have a lot of attraction or subscribers. I'm not really worried about it right now. This is my main channel. I want to do everything on here and focus on growing this channel first, and then we can take the additional workload of the other channel. So that'll be the flying content. I do have a seat coming for the Ducati also. I've bought a Corbin seat, so it'll be here next week. Probably while I'm gone, it'll arrive. And so we'll show you that, and we'll do some motorcycle content as well. Not much. Most of the channel we're gonna keep our main focus as what it is, and that's the Porsche stuff. But we're gonna do some motorcycle content. We're gonna do some flying content. The flying or the motorcycle and car content will be on this channel. Flying will be on a dedicated flying channel. All right, guys, enjoy your weekend. Catch you later.